Lovely. Good morning, everybody. So welcome to SOFA Summit 3. My name's James. I'm kicking off with Introduction to Business Central, which is just a quick run really through the latest version of Business Central. As I said, my name's James Crowther. Been working with Business Central for a lot of time. Just check in, you can hear, everything's clear. This session runs for 30 minutes and I'll finish up with some Q&A. So probably ask you to stay on mute until that period of time, please. Just what we'll cover in no particular order, perhaps not in this agenda order. I'll cover kind of the new client and navigation around it, the way searching and filtering and the way you set that client up. Cover really Business Central for those of you it's completely new to, what the functionality covers, and also then how we extend that functionality into extensions. Finally, talk about some reporting and integration, and as I said, finish up with a Q&A. That's the front screen. I was talking about the newspaper view with the functionality at the top, the jump to different sections, the numbers on the front. I'll go in and look at something quickly. Any of these list views, and this list views is one of two types of view. You've got the list view and the card view. But if we quickly jump through, we can go and quickly sort in any particular order. We have these notifications at the top that will pop up and tell us various different pieces of information. We can jump into those if we want to. And see further information. This one is talking about GDPR. I've just turned that off, or I can just go search. So, and the search is dynamic. You know, I start typing Canon Group, and it starts to find that anywhere in that data. So again, you don't need to flick to a particular column and set the search. You can quickly jump to anywhere you want to, or back that out. Similarly, for those who've used Business Central or Navision in the past, you'll know that filtering is a key component of the application. Being able to apply filters, again, you've got that same capability, and I argue slightly more. We can go and filter on any particular field I want to. So let me just pick one particular option. Let's set a phone number, and let's find then anywhere star 0121, and those are all the numbers, the phone numbers with that somewhere starting with 0121 somewhere in the phone number. When I want to actually save that filter, don't know why I would, but 0121 numbers, click on the save, and that's now there, and I can jump back to all, or I can go to my particular filter just in a single click. So that might be used for showing anything that has got a balance overdue, anything where, you know, an item which is past its reorder point and so on. Very flexible, and even you can set relational filters now. So in effect, I can see where an item is below its reorder point or areas like that. Similarly, anywhere there's a total, you know, we can drill down within that total. Let me just go back to the full view and perhaps click on the balance. So sort that so we've got the balance, click down on that total, and it takes me into the individual transactions. Once I look at these transactions, they're highlighted in red because of my options. I might want to go navigate and go and look at some of the factors around that particular transaction. So very quick again to click down into the customer or the particular transaction. I can go and look at the particular invoice, and there I'm back. Another way gets me to the GL transaction that transaction's failed. So I'm not going back to a menu at all. Those of you who've used the product in the past will be used to that rapid navigation. Going back a stage, if I just back at this particular customer, as I scroll down the right-hand side, I see lots of summary information about this particular customer. Click down onto the next one and the numbers change, the dates change, the last payment receipt in that instance, what payments we've had. I can click on those again, drill through, see overdue amounts. So as overdue amounts as at today, there we go. Those are the 3 transactions that, that are actually overdue for payment. So very rapid navigation through one way or another around. When I actually drill into a particular, click on a particular customer, I go from a list view to what we call a card view. These are laid out in sections. I can have the sections, it will remember how I've configured them, and I can configure them so that they're closed up by default. I don't want to see particular areas, or I actually have them expanded out, and even go so far as to expand out further with the show more for fields that I don't use very often. So if there's stuff that's occasional that I'm not really using on a day-to-day basis, I can kind of hide that from the majority of people, and the majority of the time it's not slowing me down. And one of the things that's really changed is that the way you can customize any of these, the list or the card views, we can go and personalize them very, very quickly. So if I just click in, again, this is security controlled, so I can start to control how I do it. One of the things I might do, actually, you know, I might not use intercompany, so I might actually go and hide that particular field and take that off the screen. But something else which is on the customer table, so a hidden field that's not normally displayed, I can go and click plus field, and across on the right hand side in a second, we'll see name 2. So dragging that on and dropping that where I want it suddenly makes it available, and you'll see that redraw the screen in a second. Just drag it back on. Come on, there we go, name 2. And that's now set up so I've personalized. I can clear the personalization if I want to. That includes even taking functions off the screen. So, you know, if there's something that we don't particularly use, I can decomplicate the screens by removing those. I don't have to go to a Business Central expert to do that. It's very much kind of click on it and, you know, then right click and decide what you're going to do in terms of that particular option. And that's just me. I can do that, save that personalization, copy that to other groups of users or users, and I can then make it system-wide if I want to. So lots of options in terms of how we set up the system. And that goes as far as even configuring, you know, where the cursor next jump to. We're using Business Central because we want it to be fast. And so maybe I want it to skip a few fields and jump down. Here I've jumped straight from the credit limit down to the special prices, which is a new section that they put on for customer specific discounts and pricing now. And so I can set what we call a quick entry order, so I control which fields it goes to every time I press return as I press where it jumps to next. A lot of different options. And, you know, it's fair comment that there is a lot of functionality in the system. Let me finish the personalization and go back. And one of the options you'll see people use is not actually go back to that front menu. So we have Alt-Q, which takes me to the tell me what you want to do box. And I can just start typing in here. So rather than go and search through menus or have to look at what I want to do, I can go and something I do maybe, you know, just once a period or something like inventory valuation, it will find, even if I start to type incorrectly, it'll start looking for different options. Maybe I've typed it slightly wrong. It'll try and guess what I'm looking for. And first of all, it shows you functions on this particular page. and then it'll go and show you options across the whole area. If I don't know what I'm looking for, I just want to see what the system does. And actually, it's a conversation. Okay, we've had a quick look at Business Central. We know what it looks like, but what does it actually do? Well, in 30 minutes, I'm not going to cover the whole of the application. Apologies for that. So what I thought I'd do is go and use the new exploring function and go and look at what we can do. Business Central has roles. I'm in as a business manager. So when I go into my settings, there you can see business manager. I could go and change it to one of quite a lot of other different roles. So I might have a sales order processing role, production planner, sales and relationship manager, warehouse, etc., etc. And then the front screen would be very much tailored towards what I need to see. But I'm in as a business manager. So first of all, the Explore is showing me what's on my role center, what I'm expected to do. But I can click Explore All here, and it shows me everything across the whole system. So we have the usual administration functions, which you'd expect, about managing data, the whole kind of security. As I said, we saw earlier, kind of things like GDPR are just built in. Rapid Start, which is uploading of data very rapidly from Excel. So no more having to go to a developer to write import processes now. That will create an Excel template for you. You populate it, and it sucks it straight in for you. We have finance, a general ledger, nominal ledger, our chart of accounts. We have cash management, which is bank account, bank and reconciliations. The system is fully multi-currency, and it's multi-currency by transaction. So you can transact in any currency you want. It will go up, it will do your exchange rate, it will go off and automatically update those for you if you have a suitable service from your bank or another source that you want to point it to. And then do the revaluation either on a specified period or daily if you want it to, or only when the transaction is settled if you want it to. Receivables and payables. They have adopted, I would say, international, or let's get it right, American terminology. So we don't talk about debtors and creditors, we talk about receivables and payables. We've got full fixed assets that's in there out of the box. So you get all of this inventory, stock, and the whole kind of stock management system, which is part of that core system. We have purchasing, we have sales and marketing. So purchase order processing, invoicing, etc., planning to suggest what you need to reorder when it gets down to a critical point. That's by location as well. So if you keep stock in different places, it will trigger rebuying into those locations or movement of stock from one location to another. Within a location, we have bins. That's getting into the warehousing area of the aspect where there's a reasonably comprehensive WMS system that will allow you to define QC areas now, block bins, define different zones of your warehouse, so set up different picking operations and put away operations, replenishment, etc., etc. We have manufacturing, which is the opposite one to warehousing. Two areas. So there's two levels of Business Central. There's Essentials, okay, which includes everything apart from this column that I'm pointing to now, which is the manufacturing area and the service management area. Manufacturing, bills and materials, routings, MRP, production orders, and work in progress through. We have assembly orders in inventory. Assembly orders have no work in progress. You just say, I want to do this assembly, and then you've done it, and it back flushes the stock automatically. So there's no work in progress is the key difference. No routing steps either through an assembly. It's either done or it's not done. So very simple. So some clients do use both, maybe use an assembly process to kind of pick, assemble and dispatch, but then a manufacturing process for the core manufacturing process as well. Rename to projects, but it's actually it's jobs. So you can set up projects or jobs, tasks within those, and have different stage payment settings within that. It can be fixed price or it can be time and material process. So it will pick up the time that's booked to that. There's timesheets that your people can book against particular projects, so that you know what they cost you, even if you don't have the luxury of passing that cost on. Resources and human resources, very similar. Resources is people's time as opposed to inventory. So people, costing them out, different skill methods, different availability that you can start to query. And resources now, for those who are used to Nav, they can be purchased as well as sold. So that's a useful innovation that they brought in. Human resources is fairly basic. It will do employee records. It does not do payroll. So that's one thing to clarify. There is a payroll journal import as part of the system that will bring a journal to post to your general ledger, similar to kind of how Sage is useful. If Sage will output that, it'll just suck it straight in and post it for you. That kind of gives you a full overview of the functionality, just going back some of the levels. You know, I talked about setting things up. We can go and do some of the reporting, so we can set up reporting. One of the things I should have shown is a lot of standard reports built within the system. All of them have kind of filters, so you can filter on particular settings. Here I could produce just the USD filters, or I can go and add a further filter. With all of these, I can go and run a preview. I probably didn't pick the right one there. Sales list, preview, and it generates the report, and then we'll put it up on screen for me to show, to browse that report. Okay, I'll wait for that. One of the areas that's new is when I go into the report selections, it will come up with a schedule. Still doing that report, I guess. And just start a new browser instance rather than wait for it. So I can log straight in. There we go, it's finished. I can send that, and one of the things I can schedule. So, you know, if you've got month-end reports or weekend reports that I need to do, as well as sending them to kind of PDF or Word or Excel, I can go schedule. And as part of that, then I can say how often I want them. So I might be 1 week, you know, and it will say, when do I want to start that, and suggest a date and time, but I can go do that. And then it runs it, puts it into my report store, and then we'll schedule it to rerun just a week later. So rather than you having to sit there and remember to push buttons for that, we have a full scheduling system on the built into the application as part of it. So any process can be scheduled to be run. You don't have to have people who sit there and have to remember that's what they have to do. Some of the other things that are there are very fast setups. You know, some of the things like workflows I probably call out where they were particularly complex to set up, and you know, as consultants, we used to generally get asked to do it for the client because it was quite hard work. Now we have this whole assisted setup process that we can go into. There's lots of different options on here, some of the basic ones, but you know, set up an item approval workflow. So that means after an item has been created, we want to effectively send it to somebody for approval before it's allowed to be used across the system, to make sure it's completely properly set up, and you know, there's not already another item there that people just haven't found. So that goes through, it asks us who the approver is, we can start to pick it up, I'll pick it myself. When the user changes a specific field, or when the approval request sends the approval request manually, well, specific field might be there. What do they change? Well, maybe if they change the unit price, it's increased, you know, so only if it goes up, or if it's changed at all. How do I do that? So setting that up so items are blocked by default, and when you try and unblock them, it sends them off for approval. How easy was that to set up in terms of creating approval? That's there now. If I went to create an approval, there's similar for customer approvals, payment approval workflows again. So if you've got an invoice that's a purchase invoice that's on query in the system, you can set up an approval process though that the person that's asked for it to be queried has to release it before it's paid, even though you put it on the system, so maybe reclaim the VAT and so on. Customizing Navision in the past used to be something that involved a developer. No longer. We've got these things called extensions, and you know, you can go in and see the extensions that are on your system, and I'll just drop in a few here. You know, whole bunch. Some of them are Microsoft are improving the system by adding extensions. And one of them, making tax digital localization for the UK, is an extension. So if HMRC change what they need, Microsoft will just add a new extension to the system. Extensions are layered on. And in fact, I can go and functionality, and we have this option here called App Source. App Source are extensions from third parties that are available for the system, and I can go and add those into the core system. So if I click on that one, that's one from Clever Dynamics, Techman's in-house ISV, if you like, and that's gone off to a website called appsource.microsoft.com, and that's now loading up. We could tick a few boxes and add Clever credit to the system. I've added one little custom, a demo prep, just to set up the data a little bit better earlier today. We can do that by just going manage and then upload extension. That layers on top of the core base extension. So the whole of the application is now an extension, this extension here. So Microsoft upgrade the system by upgrading that particular extension and then adding your custom extensions back on top. That means once you've upgraded to Business Central SaaS, in effect, you will get an upgrade delivered for you every month. And that's quite a staggering thing. So, you know, 16.3 was delivered just back end of last week, and that's got some new functionality in it that you know, adds to the core functionality of the system. So you've got a constantly evolving system. I'm aware I'm running out of time. I'll just point to one feature there, add a bookmark to your role center. So if you find something that you use regularly, you don't have to keep searching for it. You can just bookmark it. And then when I go back to the role center where I started, you will see that my extension management is now on my top menu. So things that I want to get to regularly will be able to do. I didn't mention, I forgot to mention extensions. You can install them very easily in 5 minutes, but you can also uninstall them. And actually, as part of the SaaS version, we have this whole area called Admin Center. Admin Center allows us to have our live or so-called production version of the system. Just coming up now. Takes a second to load the Admin Center. But it also allows us to copy our production to a so-called sandbox. Sandbox is an IT term for a test system. A little bit to load, give us a system, but copying, you can make that copy from production to sandbox whenever you want to. Add an extension into the sandbox, try it out, and then if you like it, subsequently load it into live. So it's just asking for my credentials again, and there's my production tenant. So I can go new at this point, and that's where I go test. I'll go make it a test, a sandbox, and I'll copy my production environment. And if I say create, that will go off and do it. And about probably 5 to 10 minutes later, I would see a sandbox there ready for use, which is a complete copy of my production environment.